themselves. So, Brad, would you like to start?
Yes, I'm Brad McElhenney. I'm co-editor of the Gazette Mail, used to be editor of the Daily Mail, and I participate in the Daily Mail's editorial board.
I'm Kelly Merritt, editorial page editor for the Daily Mail side, which is usually page 5A.
I'm Chris Dorst, photographer for the Gazette Mail.
Laura Haight, Putnam County reporter.
I didn't hear you. What did you say?
I'm the Putnam County reporter.
Okay.
My name's Greg Moore. I'm the city editor for the Gazette Mail.
I'm Dawn Miller, I'm the Gazette opinion page editor.
And I'm Rob Byers, the co-editor for the Gazette Mail.
Okay, so thanks and welcome to our meeting with candidates for Putnam County School Board. And the first thing we'd like to do is ask each of you to introduce yourselves and then just very, very briefly tell us why you're running. Keep it, real short, and then we'll do some questions. So I'll just start here on my left. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Bruce Knell, and I am running for school board because of I had 38 years of teaching experience. I have a very strong belief in Putnam County, and I had 2 children that went through the Putnam County school system. Both have went on to pursue graduate degrees, very successful. I'm very interested in, and I know this is an old sage said, but students first. I know there's a lot of things coming up with budget crisis, money, funding, but students first I think we have to have, and I believe in that, and I believe strongly in that. I have no personal agenda that I'm pushing, but just very much interested in trying to be involved in the process of what we have in the future, even possibly with superintendent and other leadership positions in retirement. I think I really want to be a part of that. I think I'm qualified to be a part of that, selection. So that's what I'm doing. Thank you for having me.
Sam Sentelle. I'm presently in my 3rd term on the Board of Education. I've been superintendent of schools in Putnam County, I think 3 different contracts. I've also been a superintendent in Logan County, West Virginia. I've been a principal, high school, middle school. I've taught algebra. I've been a budget director in Richmond, Virginia for 7 years. I've been in education since 1965, and I've been in Putnam County since 1990, and I'm very well attached to Putnam County. My wife is a Putnam Countyan, and I'm president right now of the West Virginia School Board Association. I was elected about 3 weeks ago, and I'm looking forward to, especially next year, the legislative session. I want to have more authority back in the hands of people who are elected locally, the 275 local board members, rather than having things come to us from an appointed state board of education. Things have been moving that way. I think they're starting to move back toward local control, even though some of the things that we wanted have been, I don't think have made it out of the legislature, but that's my interest.
Jack Coyner is my name. I have 3 boys, 48, 50, and 52. Been married since 1962. I have been on the Board of Education for 3 terms. I worked for the Board of Education. I was a principal. I was a coach. I was assistant superintendent of schools for 21 years. And I enjoy helping and being a part of what the Board of Education is doing. It helps to have, in most cases, no money problems because of the move-ins that we have down there. And that makes it easier. I was there when we didn't have that. I happened to be there when John Amos, somebody in the state decided to split that John Amos money up. Just about to put us under, because we were getting it all. And so that's about it.
Very good. All right.
It should be noted that there's one candidate that's not with us today, Diana McCallister is also a candidate. She's not with us.
Okay. Thanks.
There's 2 seats.
2 seats open? Is that what we're
Correct.
looking for?
Mr. Sentelle and Mr. Coyner currently.
Right. Okay. So, all right. Well, Mr. Sentelle, you mentioned more local control. Can you give us an example, a specific example of something where Putnam County needs local control?
There's an emphasis on efficiency and doing things at less cost, and that involves the RESAs. And I've been president at one time or another of RESA 1 and later RESA 2, but in 1992 the law was changed where, to my mind, the RESAs are really an appendage of the State Department of Education. I think Senate or House Bill 4706 would have returned that to local control. I think that bill got stuck in the Finance Committee. They got said it wouldn't cost to turn it back over to the local control. But anyway, if you're going to use a RESA or any kind of regional agency like this, you need to have control of it. The control needs to be with the local boards of education, not working with someone who's appointed by the State Department of Education.
Yes, but what on earth do they do that you want to be doing? A specific example.
One thing is purchasing. Bulk purchasing is always better than, we've always, matter of fact, some of our purchasing practices have been adopted by other counties in our RESA, but we have combined some of our warehousing with the Creed facilities in Kanawha County. I think Clay County really benefits from it because they're a little bit smaller than Boone County, Kanawha, or Putnam, but that we have a lot of efficiency. I think that we've been able to gain through in-service training, through computer services. If we need to do an in-service training, we invite other counties. Now, they're not necessarily from our RESA, but anyone who wants to come can participate. And when you do things like that on a regional basis, you spread the cost of speakers, you spread the cost of facilitators. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Mr. Coyner, you have any thoughts on that bill, and do you need more local control?
I'm on the RESA board right now and have been for 12 years. RESA's come a long way here lately, and I know how at one point in time, apparently how the governor and some people felt about the RESAs. They don't have any reason to think that now. The RESAs are pretty efficient. We have a really good person in charge there, and we do lots of things. And he gave some examples about the purchasing. That's a tremendous thing. They even train bus drivers there now for the 4 counties, which took a real burden off of the counties to train bus drivers. But that's quite a job. And it's just meet once a month, middle of the month on a Wednesday, half the time at 9 o'clock in the morning, half the time at 3 in the evening, to give everybody a chance that might want to come, an opportunity to come.
So you can keep them?
Oh yes, I would keep it, yes.
All right. Mr. Knell, do you have any thoughts on that subject?
Well, to go with what Dave said, I think the main thing is bulk purchasing. And with training and with in-service, whatever it needs for, if it's for students, for bulk purchases for student product, if it's for like bulk purchases for maintenance products, but also for I think one of the key things that Ms. Quinn said was like in-service. If we're having, teachers training for multiple areas, we can bring people in to better make that more efficient than one county having all the responsibility of bringing those people. I think that is very much an asset for us.
Okay. All right. What do you like?
You know, in 2012, Governor Earl Ray Tomlin had commissioned a report, came out, the Education Efficiency Audit, which pretty much said the state is way too involved in education. Is that still the case? We'll just go in order, please. Is that still the case, or have things improved since that audit came out?
Well, I know that the audit in Putnam County was just performed this past year, and well, the year before, because they just received the results of how the audit was. I know that in countywide, Putnam County's audit showed to be very successful. I was not employed as a teacher at the time, but I've talked to numerous teachers and administrators since that audit was done. They feel that it was very successful. The results, I know they were just sharing with their staff, that they got the results from the county and sharing that information with their staff. It's probably within the last month or two. Showed where there were some weaknesses that they could work on, but also, more importantly, showed a lot of the strengths that the county was offering. And that was, that's, you know, I think, is it a good thing? I think it is. I think the question may be who is doing the auditing. If it's like, I know from the other school systems, there was people doing audits with some of our departments within the schools, would be language arts, math, science, whatever, and they felt somewhat, you know, questioning were they even how qualified they were to be doing the audit. So that was the question we had.
Well, I'm wondering specifically the state education audit, which said that West Virginia, the auditors found no other state where it's so much encrypted into law, education standards and such encrypted into law. Is the state still too involved in education at the county level?
I think you in some ways maybe yes, some ways no. It depends on which county we're looking at and deficiencies. I mean, I think that's one thing that the people doing the audit in our school system felt that, you know, why are we here? You know, Putnam County has such a strong system, and they were thinking maybe we need to model a lot of what we're doing with what you're doing. And here again, this is just what, you know, talking to a lot of teachers and administrators. If it's too much control, I'd have to say, you know, possibly, but there has to be something that we're doing to look. I mean, there's got to be some criteria that we're using to evaluate the school systems. And so, you know, I guess it could be helpful in some of those.
So. I think that 2012 audit, by the way, I mentioned about the RESA bill, that was 2002. I think I said, gave another date on it. But anyway, that 2012 audit, I think, hit the nail on the head, and I'm disappointed that the results of that audit have not been implemented through the legislature or the state board. I don't think they have. It's as though the audit never took place, to my mind. Now, about state regulation, we're having a lot of issues that county board members don't agree with. Common Core is one of them. Our board never had a thing to do with Common Core. We were never asked for our opinion. When we have a board agenda, every meeting, these people are employed pending approval by the state board. These financial adjustments are made pending approval by the state board, even to the point of policy. Of course, one time I know the policy on one type of seniority changed 3 times in 1 month. I think the law was overturned in the circuit court, then the Supreme Court reversed it, and then the legislature got into the act. Local boards need to be responsible for local schools. I think elected officials are more aware of the circumstances in Putnam County and Kanawha County and any other county than people who are appointed. I'll say more.
Okay,
I'll say more.
you know, I can't say very many bad things about the state board. The state board, I think, has a place to play in this whole thing, and they really don't bother us all that much. The state board doesn't. We have what we think is a real good system, and we have a lot of people that are starting to use a lot of things that we do, and we made some suggestions to the state board, and they've taken them and worked with them and started using some things. As a board member, I've been to a state board meeting, a couple. We hired a supervisor for RISA, and I was a part of hiring that supervisor. The bother that I hear and read in the paper about the state board, I don't get that when I participate with them.
Okay, you're good. Thanks. So we hear a lot about around the state of so many vacancies, so many teacher vacancies and retirees. How is Putnam County? How are you guys are on the board? Do you have a sense? Do you have a lot of vacancies like these other counties? How are you faring?
Who are we starting with?
Me?
Whatever.
Okay. We have vacancies, but not like we hear that a lot of other counties are. Of course, everybody has a problem with science teachers and math teachers.
Okay.
And West Virginia State did everybody a favor a few years ago, 3 years ago. We were informed at a recent meeting that qualified physics teachers in the state of West Virginia, it's amazing. You'll be surprised how many we had. We had 12 for the whole state certified. So West Virginia State set up a summer program and encouraged that RISA and other RISAs to send people to West Virginia State for 2 years, and they would get them certified in physics. And physics must be a toughie because it was hard, I think, to find people to do that. Of course, you use your chemistry teacher and you use your biology teacher and your 9th grade and 10th grade science teacher and get them certified for those things. And we've progressed a little bit there, and we have problems. And last year we had a tremendous problem because I think we had, I don't know for sure how many teachers we have, maybe 900 or 850 or 900. We had 52 people retired.
Mm-hmm.
That was a bite. Now, it really was, and it took a while to get organized and get back moving with everything. But, you got to use some subs until you can find it. But we have a lot of subs, and we have a lot of retired teachers who sub.
So do you know what the vacancy number is now? It's okay if you don't. I just want to
I don't know that there's always vacancies, but we're always in the process of filling them up. But there's always vacancies.
Do you have any thoughts on that subject, Mr. Sentelle?
We have never had to riff people. It's unfortunate, a lot of the riffing that's going on, and
Meaning reduction in force.
Yeah.
Correct. RIF meaning reduction in force.
reduction in force, like we're here reading about in the newspaper for some of our neighboring counties. We have never had to do that, and I've been in Putnam County, I think, I've been in Putnam County since 1990. We've had one RIF, and that was for a program being discontinued at the technical center. The way we've been able to do this, of course, we're well located here in the Kanawha Valley, that we have more applicants, I think, than they do in some of these rural counties. And we have Marshall University close to us. and West Virginia State and the University of Charleston. But we have an incentive for teachers and service personnel to announce their retirement, say December or January, before the end of the school year in June. So we'll have a retirement and we will fill that position effective the following August if we need it. Sometimes we wait to see what the student numbers are going to be, and then we make the employment at that time. But we've not had any problem filling vacancies.
Okay. Sir, any thoughts?
Yeah, being one of those individuals retired within the last couple of years, I think Putnam County has done well. They give you a $500 bonus if you announce your retirement before mid-January. They also give you a free optical dental insurance for a year. I think a couple of other issues that's very important is through retirements, and we're seeing more and more of these every year, and the concern is math science. I know I talked with a couple of principals. They could not get certified math teachers. Science, with upper level science, chemistry, and physics as well. But I think what helps Putnam County, one, is the pay. It's more attractive for teachers to settle there. And I think, as they said, with the 3 colleges and universities locally, that is helping placement. But I think this is a problem that we're going to be facing every year in the future because of budget cuts. I mean, I think we have to look at, okay, this year we had a reduction of how many percent, what percentage for each county school system. And it's going to probably next year. It's going to be happening again, and the next year, and the next year. And I think, we have to look in the future, how are we going to address that? And I will say, we have done elimination of some administrative positions. If one retires, we've consolidated responsibilities to other people. But I think in the future, that's even going to be more so. But I'm like you. Most concern I have is that we have qualified, certified teachers in the classroom. That has to be the first priority above all else.
Yeah. Do you think that young people, and what we hear, what we read, young people are not going into teaching? They're not choosing it. Why do you think that is?
Well, very good question. And if a student asks me, Mr. Knell, in my classroom, I want to be a classroom teacher as you were. And you encourage that because we need those people. The question is, back in my mind, I'm saying with PIA as it is, with reductions in that, with the future of like pay raises, a likelihood of that happening with budget cuts is null and void. And then, they have people from other states that are going to these workshops and they're offering them bonuses if they have math and science degrees and the salaries that they can pay them. And it's going to be very competitive, and it is a concern I think we have to address.
Thoughts on why people are not going into teaching? Did you hear me? I'm sorry. Do you have any more thoughts on why people are not going into teaching? Mr. Sentelle?
No.
Yeah.
No. Of course, pay is always an issue. We've always been number 1 in contract pay for the last several years in Putnam County. I don't think the pay, we're not that much different. Like over in Jefferson County, over in Berkeley County, teachers will teach there 5 years and get experience, and then go over to Washington County, Maryland, or over to Loudoun County, Virginia, at a $10,000 raise. It's a problem, I think, for those school districts. It hasn't been a problem for Putnam County. Our pay is, as I say, we've been number 1 in the state. We are getting more and more specialized too. We have the problem we have is the number of special education students, and we're using retired teachers now as a sort of a cadre interveners for the slow students to help them keep up with the other students. You know, they had a law, No Child Left Behind. We tried to address that with individuals, but we just don't have the resources to do one-on-one instruction, which you really need for a lot of these youngsters. We do have special education classes, exceptional, they change all these terms year to year, but exceptional education, we have those in every school, and we work for placement of that. And I think that's been our biggest problem in staffing, has been in exceptional education. You get typically people go into exceptional ed, they'll teach 2 or 3 years, and then they bid on the job where they can get in the regular classroom.
Thoughts, Mr.
Yes, the thought that it costs so much to go to college to get a teacher's salary. Those people graduate from college. I didn't realize how high it had become until my granddaughter started down at Marshall. It's awful. It is awful. Now, she's not going to be a teacher. She wants to try to be a nurse, but I don't know how long it would, if your parents don't have the money, I don't know how long it would take you to pay it back. It would be a long time to pay that back. And I did that in 1961, and I paid it back. It took me 10 years. And of course, the money wasn't there then either, but the college, it didn't cost as much, and it wasn't equal. You know, you could make a little more money than it cost you to go to school. They can't do that now. And of course, I don't know how the conduct of kids are in other counties, but it's pretty good in Putnam County. The kids, I subbed for a while back there years ago, and the kids are not a problem, that particularly the high school kids. That was all I substituted with. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know what I would say to somebody. I would ask them, why would you want to be a teacher? And see what they had to say. It's not fair. Of course, none of it's fair, but that really isn't fair.
Any other questions down here?
Sure, go ahead. Mr. Sentelle and Mr. Coyner, in our little questionnaire here, we asked, has the county dealt wisely with state budget cuts? And you both said yes, period. Very, very brief and abrupt. Can you offer some specifics? Has the county had to do anything to deal with the state budget cuts?
Go ahead, Sam.
Well, the budget cut last year, they cut us $388,000. They gave us the leeway to put wherever we wanted to make the cut, we could do it. And the board's choice was to look at restricted funds and take the money out of restricted funds, as specifically step 7, because if it's restricted, you're limited on what you can do with it anyway, and if you have the ability through funds that are not restricted, you could cover it with those funds.
What is step 7?
Step 7 is a part, well, 7A is a part of the state formula, and that's another thing. Every time the legislature meets, they have to adjust that funding formula, and I don't think anybody really understands it. Step 7A has to do with improvement of instructional technology and improvement of instructional improvement programs.
Okay. Can you point to one concrete or one specific thing that Putnam County had to cut out because of these state budget cuts, or wasn't able to do because of these budget cuts?
No.
Okay. Mr. Coyner?
I can't think of anything that we've had to cut out, and this step 7, our share of step 7 is $1,500,000, and isn't that also used, I think, for maintenance to some degree? And of course, we've got mostly either old or redone buildings, so we don't need all that money. And that was the only item to take it out of for us. Some other people, that would be important to them. But we've got tremendous facilities, and they're all either new or redone.
That's because voters there passed a ball.
The voters passed it, and then we got money from the state, and we spent around $76, $77 million doing the things that we've done. And if you want to see some pretty schools, go down there. Go to Poca. Look at that new school setting there. I'm really proud of that, and that was my goal when I ran for the board the first time, was to try to get Buffalo High School and Poca Middle School a new building. And we finally did it. And other people got new buildings or renovations, major renovations. So I'm real proud of our facilities. They are great.
Mr. Knell, I know you're looking at it from the outside a little bit, but have you seen any impact from budget cuts over the past year or so in Putnam County?
The only thing is, I know that some central office staff, as far as teaching, no, through retirements and placements, but the only thing is some responsibilities where there was 2 people maybe doing a job, then through retirement, then another person took on half the responsibility the other person had, to reduce the administrative cost in the central office, which, I'm all for. Yeah, the $58 million budget, I mean, the voters approved this bond. It was a godsend, and it was an overwhelming success in Putnam County because, you had every school district that had a benefit from this. And then, of course, through the SBA money, the $21 million that was allotted, if this bond was approved to Winfield Middle, then they, got the school they needed. I know my father was on the Board of Education back in 1968, I believe, when the first phase of replacement schools in Putnam County was the Hurricane High School, the new Hurricane High School, and Poca High School. And those schools were, such bad shape, that holes in the floor, ceilings, but the voters overwhelmingly approved that. And I think Putnam County has a unique group of people that sees that education is very strong, very, very important countywide. And I think it's been a good thing.
Okay, now there were a few failed attempts at passing the ball.
Yes, there were.
So what was the difference this last one that got passed?
I think the bonds that failed was you were looking at a specific district or area of the county that was getting a piece of the pie, and the other areas were not. And in the last bond, they looked and said, okay, Buffalo High School, new Poca Middle School, purchase of property adjacent to Hurricane High School, elementary school, the mountain, there's a lot of things. So countywide, I think the voters overwhelmingly looked. This is going to benefit our students for now and for the future. And it was very successful.
So the key was everybody has
Yes.
their little piece of the pie.
Yes, yeah.
What year was that most recent bond issue?
The one was a bond, I think that was 4 years ago was approved, and then with construction, all the construction had been.
I think it was 2008, but I'm not sure that was the year.
I thought it was 11.
See, I'm losing track of time.
But
I thought it was
10.
Because it could have been, but
We've all lost track of
but
time.
that's okay. I know my wife, she's a secretary at Polk Elementary, and she was so happy that she actually has an office now where that she actually, people walk in, hello, how are you? I need John or Timmy, please, and that the heating and cooling is actually working, and it's she's very happy as well.
Do you want to see a question down there?
Yeah, I think we segued into my question, which is your histories with the school system. All of you are so long that it's now hard to remember what happened when. As somebody who doesn't live in Putnam County, I'd kind of like to hear about your interpersonal relationships and your history together working. I'd also like to hear, some of you are retirees, all of you are, right? So why do you stick with it? And then third part, I'd kind of like a procedural discussion about the districts in this race, because it's 2 seats, right?
Correct.
But it's top 2 in particular districts.
With only no more than 2 can be elected from each
Okay.
district.
Okay. Well, let's start with that. Who is in the same district?
Okay, the districts now are, there's 3 districts.
Okay.
The Hurricane District, the Winfield District, which goes up to Nitro, then the Poca District, which goes down to Buffalo and crosses the river a little ways. Now, as he said, there can only be 2 in each district. Right now, Hurricane has 2, Winfield has 2, Poca has 1. Now, you can run from anywhere and get votes from anywhere, but you can only work in the district where you live. They've changed that over the years too. At one point in time, I think it seemed like they didn't have it divided, and you could. I think at one time there were 4 people in one district that was on the board.
Who is in what district?
I'm in Hurricane.
Okay.
Winfield.
So you're in different districts?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm classified with the north side of the river, Buffalo, Fraser's Bottom, Poca, and all in that district.
Okay.
And then they have the Winfield Taze Valley area, and then the Hurricane, the Curry area is District 3. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The biggest district geographically is Poca. The biggest district people-wise is Hurricane.
Did you say Hurricane District already has 2 members?
Yes.
You're in the Hurricane District too?
Yes, I'm in
Can you
Hurricane.
get elected?
Huh?
Then can you get elected?
Yes.
You're one of those.
Yeah,
You're currently one.
I'm currently one. Yes. He's currently one in the Winfield, the Winfield district.
And where's Mrs. McCallister in terms of her?
She lives out. She lives in the Hurricane district.
Hurricane.
Okay.
So
If I'm a voter, who am I picking against? Is somebody straight on through, or?
If she's in the Hurricane District, that means that if Mr. Coyner and Ms. McCallister were the first 2 vote getters,
correct.
then one of them would not get on the board.
Whoever was the high vote getter gets the job.
Thank you. Okay. Good job.
Now, what were the other 2 things?
And I think it's a great thing because, as he said, when you had 4 representations on the board from one area, the county felt like, oh, this is a problem. So they addressed it by looking at, we need to get some structure. We're having a voice from different areas. And I think it was very strong.
Well, the other part of my question was, what is your all's work history together? How far do you go back? And
Well, I started in Ohio in '62,
okay.
although I'm from Hurricane. I taught there 1 year and came to work in '63 and retired in '97. That's 35 years. I was a teacher and a coach at Winfield High School.
Okay.
I was a teacher and a coach at Hurricane High School. I was a vice principal at Hurricane High School. I was a principal at Hurricane High School. I was assistant superintendent for the last 21 years that I worked.
And when did you meet these guys? Yesterday?
He was my boss for a
Okay.
while. I've known him I know his dad real well.
Okay.
Yeah, I started in the schools. I've been a lifelong resident of Putnam County. I started the school system in GW Elementary in Eleanor. We moved to the Poca area when I was 12. My father was a supervisor at Monsanto with the company at the time. My mother worked at the Bank of Nitro. So it made sense back in that time, since you had one vehicle and there were 5 of us. Let's move closer to the work areas, because it was a problem whenever Dad's weak to drive to work, and there's Mom with us 3 and there's no vehicle, but that goes back. I started in 1971 to graduate from Poca. Went to State College in 71, graduated in 75. Graduated in May and started teaching Putnam County in 1975. First year Poca Elementary, but then the next year the opportunity to move up to the high school, because I was hired as a teacher, but I was head baseball coach, assistant football, basketball, girls and boys, multiple things. Back then we did a lot. Then 1980, I went to State College, sat there, and then went to Marshall, started graduate school there in 1980, graduated in 84. Then was athletic trainer at Poca for 35 years, and then I retired from that position, but I continued teaching for 3. But we go back a long way. I know Mr. Sentelle was a superintendent when I was employed as a teacher, and a coach, and athletic trainer and assistant. So it's been good. It's good. I have 2 children. I say this very proudly that they went to Putnam County schools. My daughter just finished her doctorate from Marshall University in curriculum and leadership in December. She's a speech therapist in the school system in Putnam County. Son was a biology major at Marshall and went to Olsen Brothers and did his master's in physician's assistant and specialized in dermatology. But the education that those people got at schools, they still to this day talk about those teachers. And there's some of those teachers that I still see at the school. And they're still so dedicated and making sure that, Susie and Tommy come first. And I have such admiration for them because it is getting tougher. Because I think one of you asked the question, what's the difference? I think we can all sit here in private and we can say, that a lot of students don't get the parental support that they need to succeed. And I think that's where teaching has taken on a whole different role in education. They're now, they're the counselors, they're the nurses, they're the parents, they're the role models. And it's sometimes you have to grasp that and just enjoy it because you're sure not doing it for the money.
Make a comment about the district. You questioned about 2 members, no more than 2 from a district. That had been on the law books. I think in 1988 the Supreme Court said no, you don't limit the number of people from a district. Well, they had a constitutional amendment, changed it back like it was. And I think the reason for that was that people recognized a need for having people need to be from all over the county to reflect the needs and concerns of parents and citizens all over the county, not just from one place where there's high population or some other reason. Like we had 4 people in one district at one time. I think the public recognized the value of elected people in charge of the schools, and they need to represent the entire county, not just one section.
Brett, does that cover it?
Yeah,
You had one more
I had
thing.
a follow-up idea, which was, so what advantages the long history and knowledge of the school system, and how much would someone gain by being someone who has a different point of view?
Somebody new, it might be a good thing to do. I don't know. I think that the dedication, if you have been there a long time and you've been working there, and you're happy with what you were doing, and you saw a lot of things happen that look good, and if you don't think we have a good school system, get on your internet and look at the number of kids from Putnam County on the Marshall and West Virginia dean's list and president's list. It'll knock you down almost. There's so many kids down there that are doing that. So we're happy. We feel pretty good about what we're trying to do, and we've had a good administrative group of people, and it's kind of coming to a halt. Some of them are retiring and what have you, and I hope we can replace them with people that have the same interest.
We all seem to be in agreement that things are going pretty well in Putnam County education. So, Mr. Knell, that kind of leaves the burden on you to prove to the voters why these guys should be bumped off, basically, and you should take their seat. So, so why don't you explain to us why you're the better choice?
Well, things have been great for a long time, but there's going to be change coming. I think we're going to be, as I said before, you know, with the new superintendent position, with a year or two, and other assistant superintendents or leadership, you know, within. I just want to have. I feel that I'm very qualified to have a voice in selection of those positions, and I have a great passion for that. It is a good school system. It has been a good school system for a long time, and I want to continue that. I have no personal agenda that I'm running against as to why that, you know, what's my motive for being on here? You're asking me, and it's a good question. I just wanted to serve the people of Putnam County and those students. They are first. They have to be first. And if the selection of those positions, I want to be a part of that. I think I'm very qualified to do so.
Mr. Knell, in the online questionnaire, one of the questions was about teaching evolution in schools, and you said, I support teaching theory of evolution, but also other theories such as creationism.
Yes.
So you think we should teach creationism in Putnam County schools?
I do. I think if we're going to have the theory of evolution, and then we have to have, you know, if there's multiple theories that we're going to pursue, I think we have to include that. I think it's something that parents, children are going to make choices, but I think we can't single one position in teaching that without including the others.
So you weigh the evidence for the theory of evolution the same as you do for the theory of creationism?
I think that we have to be able to do, if we're going to teach one, we teach all theories.
Dr. Sentelle?
I think evolution, creationism, they're theories. Most people, most scientists believe now in the theory of evolution, but it is a theory. And I've read some treatments where there are gaps in the fossil records that indicate there's room for intelligent design, there's room for creationism. I don't think we should be teaching anything, creationism or evolution, as a fact. I think science, we've learned so much. There's been more, I think, learned in the past 20 years than in the whole history of mankind before. I can sit in my living room now and see more things on the internet than the Library of Congress has. I think science, and the way we should be teaching science, is the skill of investigation, observation, measurement. We should be teaching children to learn, because things are changing, and they probably will change again in the next 10 years.
Mr. Coyner?
Well, I always said when I was teaching, if it's in the book, I'll teach it. I'm not going to run out there and put something in there that's not in the book, because I don't want to start a riot. I agree with Sam and everything he said there. We can teach this and indicate to the kids that it's not proven, but we're going to teach it so you'll have something to have a guidance about the whole process and what people think. You know, I would hate to ever get into the deal that if you watch TV a whole lot and listen to Texas, you know what they're doing. If some Republicans or some Democrats don't agree with what's in the textbooks, they just order new textbooks. And they've done that for the last 4 or 5 years. They don't agree with a certain thing in a textbook, they order new textbooks. And so pretty soon their history, if it was correct to start with, it's not going to be correct if they continue doing that.
Plus, new textbooks cost money.
College textbooks, and you know what they cost, and the high school textbooks are a little cheaper, but I mean, you're looking at big bucks, and the taxpayers, if they knew that, they would pass out.
Speaking of textbooks, do you see them being on their way out in favor of iPads?
It's in some systems it's like that now. You know, I'm on favor of that. I mean, textbook purchases, astronomical cost. Here's your iPad, and it's available readily to them. And I think, you know, they're using it some in Putnam County in some areas now, and it's a benefit. I know that college textbooks, as you all know, how expensive they were. You buy it, and then what happens? A semester later, the professor, you know, well, we're not using that book again. You are stuck with that. And, no, I think yes, I think they are on the way out.
Anything that's a good idea?
Oh, anything, whatever it's going to take to save money. And school systems, as we know, some in this state now are suffering with budget deficits. And if that's a way that we can save money, absolutely.
You have thoughts on that, Mr. Sentelle?
It's a lot easier to change a textbook that's internet based. If it's to be revised, it's no cost really at all to update it. I think we're moving more and more to using technology in the classroom with our smart boards, with the internet, with the you'll never outgrow the need for books, but I do think it's there's so much now, even classes where we have textbooks, we're using it's being supplemented by material from the internet. My wife sits at home every night and takes things down off the internet to share with her cadre students. Couldn't do that 5 years ago or 15 years ago.
Just here my daughter goes to school in Putnam County. She's a high school student, so they've given her an iPad. She has that all with her all the time, but her backpack, she can still barely lift her backpack because it's so full of textbooks. It seems
amazing.
like everybody thinks it's a good idea, but nobody's actually going through with it. I didn't know Putnam County was actually moving in that direction for real.
We had the state superintendent a few years ago said they were going to do away with paper. You know, this state system that they put in was going to, we wouldn't need paper anymore. Everything would be on the internet. Attendance records, grades.
Oh yeah. Did you have a comment?
I think that my granddaughter started to marshal, and I'm helping her with her finances, and she had a teacher tell her, we got to have the book, buy the book. I think the book was $90. I went and bought the book. She went to class with it. He said, oh, we're not going to use that. I mean, and that's happened a lot, you know, with kids that I've heard of. I think that the day of textbooks is about over. I think that the library books, I don't know what, you know, we're not going to need a very big building pretty soon for a library, because we're not going to have all those books. We're going to have them so the kids can read them in a different way. And I say the sooner the better.
Yeah, so I've talked to a few parents in Putnam County, specifically the elementary schools, and there are some concerns about the Leader in Me program. How do you all feel that that program is going in the elementary schools? And then I think there's 2 middle schools that have it right now.
What is the program?
The Leader in Me, it's based off the 7 habits of highly effective people, but it's designed for children. There's some controversy with it. All your elementary schools have it.
It's the thing we went to over at Hurricane Town.
Yeah. The initial school that did it, it was quite a hurrah thing for them to do it. And what you just said, that there's problems, I kind of anticipated that. I didn't think everybody that they spoke with would be happy about that. And, you know, we'll just have to look at it in a later period of time and go from there. How's it going? How's it doing? And what benefit are we getting from it?
I think Leader in Me, like a lot of programs we have, they're better if it comes from the teacher and the school level. I think these organization charts are really upside down. We, as board members, the superintendent, central office, have to be evaluated by the way that we support what's going on in the classroom. Now, what this has to do with Leader in Me, my big objection is that I felt like it was pushed from the top down. I think the people that were pushing that are no longer with the county. But it would be better at Hurricantown. I think it was a success, great success. The West Tays are having a program in a couple of weeks. Students are writing letters, inviting people. It's really a Leader in Me type program, but they don't call it Leader in Me. They've adapted it to their own needs at West Tays. We have some other programs like that. We're talking about archery in the schools. We have about 3 schools now where they are teaching archery, and it seems to be catching on. We have garden-based learning. I think it was in the Putnam Metro a couple of weeks ago, where they're putting their science and math to work in gardens. They've started it at GW, at Confidence, Hometown. Rock Branch is starting to have a big one at West Tays. A lot of parents are involved in it, and programs like that that start up from the community level seem to be the ones that are more successful.
I know the Leader in Me, some schools have already completed that. There's others that are in process now of becoming Leader in Me schools. And I think it's, there are some that are, it's not been a timetable where everyone's going, everyone, is completing, but we've started some and finished, some are involved in the process now. And there's pros and cons with it. And if you talk to, as you said, the teachers, this was kind of said, okay, it was presented to the administration down to the principal said, here we go. It's thrown out here now, go with it. And there are good and bads with it. I've talked with some elementary teachers that I know.
I just wanted to say, I looked it up, the Putnam County bond election passed in 2009.
So the construction started when? That's the question.
A year or two
Later, yeah.
What was the date?
2009.
Mine.
Or anything else? Kim? Brett?
I'm good.
You guys okay? Well, thank you all so much for coming and spending this time with us. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.